the next technique of open addressing, that is the resolution of clustering and Cooleans, is double hashing. So we use two hashing functions, which you can see here, this one and this one. The first hash function is used to determine the first slot, and the second hash function is used to determine the increment for the probing sequence, where here you can see I, this I is 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. It increases. So our initial probe is H1 with I equals to 0. So if you see, if this I equals to 0, this term will be cancelled out. So our initial hash function will be this one. So let's look at an example. So let's say this is an example. Let's say our hash function, the first hash function H1 is k mod 13. The second hash function H2 is 1 plus k mod 13. We will discuss how is it better to design this function, and we will talk about it in a while. So this is your second hash function, which is 1 plus k mod 11. So your hk of I becomes h1 of k, I, and h2 of k, and mod 13. So let's say we have to insert 14. So to insert 14, we will simply find out its mod with 13, of course. So if I find this out, if I fill values here, 14 comma 0, that gives you h1 of k. h1 of k is 14 mod 13, which is written over here, plus since I is 0, this term is cancelled, and 14 mod 13, that gives you the same thing if I write that. So 14 mod 13 gives you 1. This is your position. Now you see that this 1 has 79 written here already. That means Coolean has occurred. So when that has occurred, we will go towards I equals to 2. The I was 0 first, sorry, I equals to 1. I was 0 at first, now we will use I equals to 1. So we have to calculate h14 comma 1. So expand this formula. The first thing is h1 14, then h2 14. So h1 14 we have already calculated it, and it is 1. Simply put that here. This is h1 14, and then we will calculate this h2 14. So h2 14 is, this is h2. You have to write 1 plus k mod 11. So 1 plus 14 mod 11. 14 mod 11 gives you 12, 13, 14, 3. It gives you 3. So 1 plus 3 becomes 4. So 4 is written over here. Simply solve it. It's not that difficult. So 4 is written over here. So 1 plus 4 gives you 5. 5 mod 13 gives you 5. And you see there is something already present at 5 as well. So now again Coolean has occurred. So that means we have to move to h14 comma 2. This h14 comma 2. So we already know the value of h114, and that is 1. We have written that here. And to calculate this now, we have to write, let me write it over here, 2 into, and I'm expanding this formula over here, expanding this one. So 2 into h2k, which is 1 plus k was our key, which is 14 mod 11. This gives you 3 plus 1, this gives you 4, and 4 into 2 is equals to 8. So that's how this 8 has come. Now 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 mod 13 gives you 9. And you can see you have found your place. It is not filled. So you will simply put 14 in this place. So this is how you apply double hashing. Quite simple. And the probe sequence that becomes is something like this. At the 0th probe, that is the first iteration or the first time you are finding the location, it is simply the hash function. And as it increases, the first time it will be g of k. G of k is h2 of k. In the previous equation, it was h2 of k. then it is 2 into g of k, then 3 into g of k, and so on. So I is increasing. This g of k is the same as h2 of k, which was written over here. You can write h or g, or you can also write h or g, h or h2, h1k and h2k. You can write both of these, whatever you want, both of these. So now let's discuss these two hash functions. So h1 is the hash function, which is a standard hash function like this, something like this. h2 should be chosen very carefully to ensure that it never returns 0. This is very important, because if it returns 0, then you see it is being multiplied here, and if it returns 0, this whole term will become 0. And if this whole term becomes 0, that means you are left with the original hash function, and that already gave you a collision, so that was not resolving anything. So if in case there is a collision, so you have to make sure that it does not return 0, and you also try that it is relatively prime to the table size, especially if table size is a prime number, to guarantee that all slots in the table can be reached during probing. And we have discussed this thing in detail in the last video, in the last lecture. So for double hashing, a good second hash function is something which never evaluates to 0 and that makes sure that all cells are probed. So usually there are many ways to construct it. Usually these are the two common ways of constructing a second hash number. One of them is you use a prime number here, and you use a prime number smaller than the table size. You use a prime number here minus key mod prime number. This is how you do it. One way, that makes sure that it never results to 0. Another way is just simply write 1 plus key and then mod table size minus 1. That also makes sure that it never evaluates to 0. At least it gives you 1 at least. Now let's understand the technique that is bucket. So of course, to avoid collisions. So bucket is a collection of elements that is associated with a particular hash function. So what it does is it handles collision by allowing multiple element keys to hash at the same location. So we put multiple keys at the same location in a bucket. The solution is to let each computed hash function hash location contain slots for multiple elements. So every slot has, you can say it's like a bucket. It has multiple slots available at one position. Let's say this is your hash function. So at one position, it has multiple slots available to keep all the values that are collided, and we keep them at the same place. So each of these multi-element location is called a bucket. The slots are grouped into buckets, and the hash function transforms the key into a bucket number. Each bucket contains B slots and no collision occurs until the bucket is full. So again, of course, when the bucket becomes full, there will be collision, but until it is not full, it will not result into collision. At that point, you need to apply a collision processing strategy to find another bucket, of course. So once the bucket is full, then we will resort to, for example, double hashing or quadratic hashing and so on. So we will, or linear probing and so on. So we will return to return to one of those methods once it is full. So let's see what is a bucket. So it will look something like this. You can think of it as a 2D array. It's a 2D array, and let's say the hash function evaluates to this particular location 3, and it is already filled, so there is a collision. So you will simply add your new value over here. And let's say again there is a collision, you can simply add the new value over here. But after this, then you will have to find some other technique to find another bucket. So this multi-level or multi-element location, which is containing 3 elements, is called a bucket. So unless it is full, you don't have to deal with the problem of handling collisions unless it is full. The next thing is chaining. Chaining is a linked list. It is a method that is linked to, or that contains linked lists. So it is a linked list of elements that share the same hash location. Very simple. This is your hash table. At each location, there is a linked list like this. We use the hash value not as the actual location of the element, but rather as the index into an array of pointers like this. So it is this hash value is the starting point of the array of pointers, or starting point of, or the head of the array, you can say, head of the linked list, you can say. Each pointer accesses a chain of elements that share the same hash location. Easy to delete an element from the table. So these are the advantages for, so for example, look at this. Let's say you have to add the element which is 77003, and the hash function is mod key mod 100. So if you take a mod of 100 with this, you take the mod with 100, it gives you 3. This is your location. So you will simply you can see there is collision, something is already present at this location. So what you will do is you will simply add the new element as a new slot in the linked list, as a new data member or element in the linked list. You will do that. And by the way, this slash means it is null. This is showing the end of the linked list. These all elements are null or empty. So this is what chaining is. So you can see this is a hash table, and multiple values are added in it in the form of linked lists. So when there is only one element, you can see there is only one element in the linked list. And with multiple elements, you can see multiple elements. And the slots which are empty are simply null. So this is, you can say, a chain of hash values in the form of a linked list. This is what chaining is. I think it is easier than the other concepts, but there are some insights in this as well. So let's discuss those as well. So first of all, let's take a numerical example. Let's say we have to insert all of these values in the linked list, and our hash function is this key mod 17, starting with 6. So if we start with 6, 6 mod 17, that will give you 6, right? The answer is 6. So this is the hash location. So you will just simply put 6 over here. And then let's say you have to enter 12. 12 mod 17 gives you 12. So you have put 12 over here. Then 34 mod 17 is it's 0, because 17 2 times is 34. So 0, that is why 34 is inserted here. Now this is very interesting. You can see that 0 comes very later in the sequence, but it is already inserted here. So actually it was not already inserted here. Actually at the start, at the 0 index, let's say this is the 0 index. Let's say this is the 0 index. At the start, 34 was inserted here. Then we will fill all the values, but the important point is we are filling them in ascending order. So we are actually inserting them in a sorted manner, so it will be easier for us to find them later. So you can see 29 has the value of 12, so it is inserted after 12 here. 29 mod 17 is 12. Then 28 mod 17 is 11, so it is inserted here. And again 28 was inserted at first, and then 11 came, so 11 mod 17 is also 11. So we put 11 in its rightful place. So we are putting the elements in a sorted way. That's why 11 is written at the start and 28 is written at the end, even though 28 came first in the sequence. So we are just simply inserting in a sorted manner. That's how it is done. And so on, all of these values are inserted. So why are we inserting in a sorted manner? So that later on when we are searching for them, we can use binary search or any other search, and make sure, if the worst case scenario will be, for this, the worst case scenario will be something like this. This is your hash function, and all the elements are put at the same hash location. So everything else is empty, and the whole sequence of array is present here as a linked list like this. And if this happens, then the time complexity will again become big O of n, and we don't want that. So we have to avoid it as much as we can. So this is the worst case scenario, because if this happens, the time is taken in insertion as well for while sorting, when we are sorting it. Or if we are not sorting it, then while searching, we will have to apply some selection sort or insertion sort or any other sort that will be a problem. Again, if we are doing it, again, if we are inserting and we are sorting while inserting, it is a one-time job, but still, this is the worst case scenario. Because in linked list, you still have to traverse. You can't apply binary search in a linked list because it's not like an array. So this will be the worst case scenario. We have to avoid that. Okay, we have to choose a good hash function that does not put all the values in one single position. So we also try this sometimes, that we allow only a linked list of only 5 elements, not more than that. So if some value comes that is the 6th value, we won't insert it here. We will actually resolve to one of those Boolean resolution methods, and we will insert it somewhere else in the hash table. We will find its place using either double hashing or quadratic probing or so on. Okay, this is the formula for load factor. Simply number of elements in the table divided by size of the hash table. So the load factor actually determines the efficiency of the hash table. A high load factor increases the chances of collisions, and a low load factor means wasted memory. So we have to find a balance between this, and the balance is somewhere like this. Typically, we try to keep a table which is 70% filled. That means 0.7 load factor. So that is a good balance of memory efficiency and performance. If the load factor increases a certain threshold, which is usually 0.75, the table is resized. Why? Because if it increases, that means we will have to the searching and insertion operations will become costly. That's why if it increases this particular threshold, we rehash it. We resize it to another table which is double the size. So resizing involves increasing the table size usually to the next prime number and rehashing all the elements into the new table. This is rehashing. If the load factor is less than 0.5, that means the table is filled less than 50%, we have wasted memory. Not good. If it is 0.7, it is an optimal balance. If it is greater than 0.75, that means increased collisions, slower lookups, and insertion operations. And if it is completely full, of course, if it is completely full, of course, collisions will dominate and the performance will degrade.